Hello and welcome to the second installment of weekly analysis and tips coming to you live from the Stakehouse to analyse everything Gameweek 9 in the Premier League. I'm Conall McCabe. I'm joined again by my co-host Lukas Dzinski. And Lucas, for a first week, mate, does it get any better than that?
I don't think so. You might as well stop the count, stop betting now.
I was going to say,
more winners after this.
Should we retire the podcast?
Yeah.
But, let's just it's not just about a team effort. It's about an individual competition as well, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
For my tips, 6.5 points worth of profit. So
I think, yeah. Yeah, go on, talk through it.
mind the gap, mate. Mind the gap.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, mate.
Yeah, you can shove your data model up your... Oh, sorry, I can't say that. I'm getting carried away here. I'm getting carried away.
Slow and steady wins the race, mate.
But yeah, no, I mean, look, across the board, it was a fantastic weekend. If you'd actually backed every single tip that me and Lucas had put up, you'd have more than doubled your money. So for my 6 tips, I ended up yielding 6.5 points worth of straight profit. And Lucas, from your tips, it was almost 2 clear points worth of profit as well. And that was I think, close to a 66% return for you as well. So across the board, it went really well. And just to say quickly, if you're wondering why we're talking about points rather than exact amounts of profit, the reason for that is because obviously everybody bets different amounts based on what they can afford. So ultimately, by referencing points, let's supposing you put £2 on every single bet, then 2 points worth of profit equals £2 worth of profit to you, and so on and so forth with every staked bet that you make effectively. So that's kind of how we're judging this, and that's always how you should kind of analyze your betting. It also helps to ensure that things don't go crazy and you have a bunch of losses and then you decide to whack silly money on a bet, which
We've all been there before.
we've all been there before. So yeah, that's why we kind of measure in points. So when you're following our bets, set your staked point amount and stick to it is our advice. Sometimes we'll go a little bit higher or lower, doing double points or half points based on how confident we are in bets. But yeah, let's stop talking about points and dive straight into it with our first game of Gameweek 9. It's a Friday night thriller. It's an East Midlands derby. It's Leicester City versus Nottingham Forest. What have you got, Lucas?
Well, I think this is going to be straightforward for me. I think it's going to be. I have Forest 0 Asian handicap. So basically, that means if it's a draw, you get your money back. If Forest win, you win. I think I got on it the other day. I think I got 1.89. I think it's come in a little bit. It's at 1.84. So yeah, if you listen to it, you probably want to get in on it now because I can see it coming in. I think Forest are one of the teams which I think I mentioned it last pod. They're a bit underrated by the market. They looked really good against Palace. And yeah, I think they've been good this season. They were the better team against Palace, 1-1-0. That was without Gibbs White as well. He was suspended, but also carrying injuries, so I think he should be back. And also, it's Friday night, right? So you always want a little bet on a Friday night. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that, and I will be watching that for sure.
Cool. Let's just talk a little bit quickly about the Asian handicap because we haven't actually done the evergreen content yet. So there'll be people out there who a little bit unfamiliar with it. Why you choose to utilize that rather than just straight winning markets, and exactly how to find it even on betting sites. So ultimately, you can find it. Generally, there's a section on the page of the game, a heading that will say Asian handicap, which you can find it there. And then there's all of the different levels. I really like using the Betfair Exchange actually, because you can actually put your set stake in for each different handicap market, and you can see what different results and how they would affect your return on investment. Sometimes as well, if you're dealing in quarters and it's a bet, for an example, of minus 0.75, the market might not say minus 0.75. It might say -5 and -1. When it does that, you're going with the middle, which is the minus 0.75 option. So not really sure why it's laid out like that, to be completely honest, but that's why. But that's how it is. In terms of why we like to use a model, for the simple reason it reduces a lot of variance. If you bet back a team to win, it doesn't matter whether they draw or whether they lose 4-0. Your bet still loses. And basically, by using the Asian handicap market, it just means that if your bet is at least close to coming in some capacity, it can still see you potentially even win half your money or only lose half your money or break even on one of these other factors, which doesn't necessarily involve you losing your whole stake. So Lukas is basically a penny pincher. He's another name for a cat that I won't
I
say
always
out
buy
loud.
around though.
Which is why he, you've never bought a round, which is why he always likes to go for it. But no, look, in all seriousness, it does reduce variance. Things sometimes you can be denied by a very unfortunate incident or moment, and that's a lot of the time where the Asian handicap carries a lot of validity. Just to discuss that a little bit further. Anything to add?
No, what I'll just add is like one of the biggest syndicates in the world. They primarily bet on Asian handicap, so your Starlids, your Smiles, etc. So they do that for a reason, right?
There you go. Lesson number 1 from podcast 2: be like the big syndicates. All right, let's talk Brighton versus Wolves.
Hold on, you got nothing in that Leicester Forest?
Leicester Forest, like, ultimately, I don't disagree with you in terms of the winning market. I haven't got an official tip there. I think it'll be very high scoring. Leicester have been involved in a couple of 3-2s recently, and they scored 2 against Arsenal as well. So it's not like, even though Forest are a bit mean defensively, actually I think Leicester will be bang up for this under the lights on a Friday night. I think I could see something like an entertaining 2-2 draw. But I don't discourage people from your tip. I'd be pretty surprised if Leicester won. And again, as you say, if it is a draw, then people on your tip would get their money back. So I don't mind that, but it's not an official tip for me.
Just a little fact for you. Forest have actually the 5th best defence in terms of expected goals, expected goals conceded. They've conceded 10. Leicester have the worst in the league. They've conceded 20, equivalent to 20 XG. So
the value's there. Absolutely.
Yeah,
No, I hear that. Maybe that's a double point shot, Lucas, but not yet, eh? Brighton versus Wolves. Have you got anything for this?
Don't really have an official tip, but Brighton are massively favourites, I'd say, according to the model. I have them projected to be 0.84 goals better. So, yeah, I know Wolves, put up a bit of a fight against City, could have maybe got a draw out that game, but also, they were really sitting back. I think City had the most touches in the penalty area of like any Premier League game in like few years, like ridiculous amount. It was like mental. Obviously, they can't do that against Brighton, right? Different kind of game plan. I didn't see them getting a result. I think Brighton have looked decent lately. I think Brighton should win that, but not putting any official bets on for this one.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, Wolves have had a really tough start to the season in terms of fixtures. They really have been dealt a tough hand. I think if Gary O'Neill keeps his head, I think Wolves will be absolutely fine. I think they've got too much talent actually in the forward areas, the likes of Cunha, the likes of Hwang. I think things will start to turn round for them. I'm not convinced it'll happen at Brighton. Brighton actually a really impressive outfit under Hurzeler, and I think Brighton will beat Wolves. If you want an exact scoreline prediction, I'll go with 2-1. But I think that Wolves will still be okay. I think Wolves have got way more about them than some of the other teams around them in the drop zone. So I don't see
reckon?
Yeah,
I think it might be time for Wolves to go down. They've been drifting down the bottom for quite some time.
If Wolves go down, which promoted side stays up?
Not sure.
Well, there you go, snooker. None of them. The answer is none of them, because they're all going down the 3 promoted sides. I think Wolves have got way more quality than the 3 of them, and that gap between the Championship and Premier League is growing, and it's getting tougher and tougher, I think, for the promoted sides.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your own stats on Leicester just then, for example. Southampton can't win a game for toffee. Ipswich have got, how many Ipswich players would get in any of the other 17 squads or teams? It's not very many.
Few of them will probably get into United team, maybe, but
Yeah, but so it's look, they're going to struggle. Let's move on. Talking about Ipswich, you are going to love what I've got for you here, mate. You are going to love this.
oh yeah, go on.
You are going to absolutely love this.
Go on.
Brentford Ipswich, right? I'm going to throw a 5-1 tip out there for you.
What is
5-1 official 5-1 tip.
Okay. How many points?
Just one.
Oh wow, okay.
Go on,
That's
one full
quite big for 5-1.
Yeah, because it's a great bet. I checked
Okay.
this bet thinking it was going to be like 5-2, 3-1 territory.
All right.
I saw it was 5-1. I was all over it like a rash. So you haven't got on it at 5-1 yet, get on it. The tip is, I'm going to actually set the scene. So ultimately, what are Brentford renowned for in the last few weeks? Fast starts, right?
Yeah.
So 3 goals inside the first minute in consecutive games. 4th game inside 2 minutes. I think they had 1 game off, I'm not sure. But then again, against United, Shade should have scored.
Yeah.
Minutes, right? This is no longer a coincidence. This is habitual. This is something being worked on. Brentford are pioneering the way in kickoff routines, fast starts, better than anybody else out there.
They can't hold on to a lead, but yeah, that's a different story.
My bet doesn't actually worry about that too much, because my bet is I don't need Brentford to score in the first minute against Ipswich. I don't need them to score in the second minute. I need them to score in the first 10 minutes. Brentford to be leading after 10 minutes at home to Ipswich is 5-1. So that's a 1 point bet for me. Yes, Ipswich will come there. They'll be aware. They'll set their stall out. But Brentford, at the community, have looked to force. Look at what they did to Southampton. Sorry, not Southampton. Wolves. They put 5 past them. When they attack, they've been deadly. And I think the 5-1 shot is value. So that is
Why get on that? That's not a bad shout, actually.
That's my first official tip. I'm glad to hear I've swayed you in the process.
In terms of, maybe that might be my official tip as well. Steal that one.
That's not how this works. No way.
I got Brentford's in the model as being the favourite, over 1 goal better than Ipswich. I expect them to win this game, but I don't really have a bet on it, to be honest. Could maybe perhaps do Mbuemo at any time. That might be a little shout. But yeah, no official bet.
Cool. All right. Moving on, City, Southampton. Do you remember what I said about City?
Yeah, what are you going to do? City to win, both teams to score.
I said that I was going to, and I still believe that if you did it every single... Obviously, it won for me.
Go on, then. You're going to do it. Official tip, then.
I'm not, and I'll tell you why. I told you part of the reason last week, which is Southampton are a massively inferior opposition, and I don't necessarily trust them to score. But the main reason that I'm not doing it this week is because the price has tightened massively. So I could get 2.75 almost at time of recording on City, both teams to score last week. Now, it's not even on the exchange market from what I can see, and on the sportsbook right at this present in time, it's 5-4. It's just a little bit too tight price wise. With my reluctance to back Southampton to do anything productive whatsoever, I can't get involved at that price. So I think City will win. I stand by what I was saying in terms of they'll struggle without Rodri. It's proven already. I mean, that game against Wolves actually could have gone either way. And they were kind of lucky to get out of there in the end, weren't they? So they are going to have their games are going to contain more goals for sure. I think they'll win. Maybe after we said on the pod that Haaland wouldn't get on the score sheet correctly last week, maybe he'll end up notching a brace or something in this one. But it should be a very, very comfortable City win.
Yeah, just to add that, Southampton, if you remember last week, I was thinking about backing Southampton against Leicester, and oh my lord, thank God, I didn't do that. I would be fuming. 2-0 up to like lose 3-2 in the dying minutes of the game. That's just, yeah. When I saw that 2-0 up, I was like, okay, should have put it on. But I mean, you can't hold on to a lead against Leicester, relegation rival. After that,
Where do you go? Like,
yeah, that's like fair enough against someone, like I don't know, like a mid-table team, but against Leicester, that's
psychologically, I
really
mean,
poor,
that's
really
that's
poor.
massive, absolutely massive. It was a 6 pointer anyway. Psychologically, it's massive for different reasons for both clubs.
Yeah.
All right, we look at Villa Bournemouth next.
Villa Bournemouth, interesting this one. Obviously, I was back in Bournemouth last game week. Came out on top really well. I mean, obviously the red card helped massively, and I feel like Arsenal created quite a few decent chances. Actually, the scoreline 2-0 was a bit misleading. I'd say the way the game played out probably. Saying that, I don't think Villa are good as last season, and I think Bournemouth are looking really strong this season. So, official bet, I want to go Bournemouth plus a half. The price you can get on that at the moment, plus a half, is 1.96. So, yeah, I'd get on that.
So Bournemouth plus a half on the Asian handicap effectively means if they end up losing by a
No, no,
goal,
no, no. No. So plus a half basically means if Bournemouth draw, you win your bet. Obviously, if they win, they win. So Bournemouth just needs to go there and draw, which I feel like with Villa playing today, Champions League. Obviously, we're recording on Tuesday before the game starts. That must be some kind of small factor. Bournemouth have a full week's rest. Don't have any injuries as far as I'm aware, so I feel like this could be a good game. One thing as well, the Villa result against Fulham, they were pretty lucky there, I'd
yeah,
say.
yeah, they were.
Sending off, Fulham missed the penalty, the goals as well that Villa scored. The XG was actually really close. One thing, interesting fact actually. Talking about Fulham while we're here. Based on expected points, where do you think they are in the league?
Fulham. I mean, they're sat eighth and ninth at the moment in the table. I wouldn't have said they were far away from that. Maybe 10th, 11th.
They're second.
Unexpected points.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you go understat.com, they got expected points there. They're second. Liverpool's first. So basically, Fulham are underperforming their expected points by a total of 5.21 points. So, yeah, they're, like I said, as much as I hate to say it, they're looking really good this season. But yeah, anyway, different team. Yeah, Bournemouth plus a half. Yeah, I'm going with that. What about you?
It's all right. We're coming to Fulham next, so
Okay, perfect.
you've
Yeah.
just done the chat for that one. Yeah, I also agree. Actually, I won't steal your official tips because that's not what this pod's about. First come, first served. But I really like Bournemouth away at Villa. I think again, Villa, as you've mentioned, will be all out tonight, and the Bournemouth's extra prep time and stuff. And Bournemouth are just a tricky side to break down when they want to be. So I'm right behind that tip. I think this could end in a draw, actually, which would be good for your bet. Everton Fulham. You've talked a lot about Fulham, so I'm assuming you're backing them, right?
No, actually, I'm not backing them because I think the price is more or less correct where the market is. So I don't see much value in backing them. But if I was going to have a bet on this, I'd probably go Fulham 0 on the Asian handicaps. You can get that 1.9. So basically, what that means is Fulham draw, get your money back. If they win, they win. If you think that Fulham, like me, are a better team, but Everton, tough place to go. They've gained a bit of momentum recently. Yeah, that's what I'll be angling at.
Yeah, just to go back to your initial point as well on the expected points. Obviously, the way that's calculated is looking at the expected goals a team is supposed to score by Opta versus a number of expected goals that they're expected theoretically to have conceded, and
Yeah,
then putting their points total together from that.
yeah,
So that's pretty significant. That's really interesting to hear that they're second in that
yeah, yeah,
department.
yeah. I was really surprised, to be honest, but
That's incredible and testament to the good work that they've done. And that should, if you're looking to take advantage of that, that should end up being a nice route, a nice betting strategy to back them at potentially prices a little bit kinder than they should be for
yeah,
at least the next few weeks, if not the season. So when you fancy them, go with it. I'll just my last point on that game is I've been really impressed with Dwight McNeil in the last few weeks.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually hasn't had. I mean, he scored twice a few weeks ago. Barring that, there's not been that much output. So the prices on him for shots and goals and assists are all quite generous. So if you're looking for a slightly different angle on this game, the prices for that aren't out yet, but certainly worth checking in on that later to the time. Chelsea versus Newcastle.
Chelsea and Newcastle. Well, the last game you thought there was going to be goals galore, right? I watched the Chelsea Liverpool game. I mean, Liverpool are strong, right? But I thought Chelsea will maybe create more or be better at defending. I feel like they got caught out quite a lot of times. Saying this, I still think Newcastle aren't that great of a team. So while I don't have an official bet, if I was going to have a bet, I'd probably just go with Chelsea win at home.
Cool. I'm similar, but I do have an official bet.
Okay.
I'm like you. I mean, I saw the extended highlights of it. I was disappointed by the lack of creation on the Chelsea side. I thought, the last 10 when they were 2-1 down, they would have put a few more opportunities together, but didn't. Having said that, I trust them, as I've said, going forward, and I'm willing to give them a game off and still look at it as an official bet. Particularly at Stamford Bridge, they're so strong. Newcastle, I mean, talked a lot about Eddie Howe on the last pod, and again, it's just like, I don't know what's happening there. I think they're in real trouble, and again, their owners are just not going to be quietly sitting and accepting this in the background, and Howe really, really needs to pull his finger out for me. A little bit like United, I don't see an awful lot of identity from Newcastle. I don't really see what they're trying to do at the moment. Ho is not getting the best out of several key players in that side. I think they could be on the end of a hammering. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea end up winning this 4-0, 3-4-0.
Really? Okay.
Yep, really, really believe that. I think it could be an avalanche. Newcastle away from home as well have looked so suspect. They should have got beat at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
A lot of other performances. They just haven't been as good as they need to be.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. Yeah, go on. Sorry, I'll let you.
Go on, no, I'm going to finish off with my tips. So, say what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, I was just a bit disappointed, especially like we spoke about this at the start of the season. Everyone's raving about him. Even I got caught up with it, and I put some money on Isak top goal scorer. And I mean, is he on like 1 or 2? Like, I don't know. So yeah. I mean, I'll be really surprised if they get anything at Chelsea.
I mean, he's a quality player. I wouldn't write him off completely, but I mean, in terms of the bet for this one, I'm playing the Asian handicap market myself, but I'm playing it a little bit more risky, and I'm going to play Chelsea minus 1.5.
Minus 1.5.
Minus 1.5. In other words, I need Chelsea to win by at least 2 goals.
What price is that?
3.08.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So that's an official tip. That's a 1-point tip for that one. Palace versus Spurs.
Palace v Spurs. Yeah, Palace have been underwhelming. I spoke about this last week, right? I thought
you texted me during the game on Monday and said Glasner out ?
Yeah, as a joke, obviously. I still think it's difficult, right? Because in the last season, he was amazing. Like, turned the team around, etc. No, pretty well. I know you keep saying about Elise, right? But that's one player. They can't just go down in the level of performance just like that overnight, right? I don't think so. Anyway, it's not like no team goes overnight over one player like that. Yeah, I think they need to start turning things around. They had some good chances against Forest, but they never really looked that dangerous. I'd say. I feel like Forest were more or less in control of the game, a little bit more lively. Yeah, I feel like this could be quite a good game. Spurs have been a bit hit and miss lately, but I feel like they should probably win that. My model has Tottenham 0.42 goals better than Palace, but saying that, don't really have an official bet this week on that. But yeah, that might be some good insights.
0.42 goals better, and you're not putting your money on it.
Nah, it's because I think the market is more or less there. Well, the market, if you look at the Asian handicap market, it's basically it's saying Tottenham minus a half's 1.85. So it's
Okay.
I'd say more. I said the market's priced up correctly.
Fair. Okay. I mean, ultimately, I think Glasner's panicking. I mean, he leaves Mateta out of the starting lineup.
Yeah,
He
that was a bit
leaves
weird.
Wharton out of the starting lineup. It's like he's experimenting. He's trying different things.
Didn't Wharton have a knock though, or something like that?
Did he have a knock? Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe he did. So if that's the case, then fair play before I get absolutely hounded. But look, ultimately, it just still feels like juggling and trying to move things around. But don't compromise your best assets in the process. I mean, when they were so strong at the end of last season, Mateta was at the height of his powers. Like he's an absolute bulldozing centre forward in a game where number nines are a dying breed. So, cherish and use him, and don't bring him on with 25 minutes to go. I thought that was crazy. Anyway, I think that I've got a rogue shot for this one. It's not an official tip, but I've just got a vision in my head of how the game's going to go.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go very similar to Spurs away at Leicester towards the start of the season, where Spurs went in up at the break. Spurs might go in 1-0 up, and Palace might fight back, get a draw second half. So if you want a really rogue tip for this one, not based on an awful lot, and it's not an official tip for me, but you can get 12-1 on Spurs half-time, draw full-time. As a shout, I don't mind it.
I mean, if you do that, you might as well do Palace plus a half, and you get 2.05 on that. So basically, you just need Palace to draw.
Yeah.
Palace will draw.
But then imagine that came in. You'd be really annoyed, wouldn't you?
What? Oh,
you could have put 12-1.
What if it's a draw, but Tottenham aren't leading at half time? What would you do then?
Swings and roundabouts. All right. West Ham versus United. I'll lead off on this one.
Yeah, go on.
So I think that United at odds against aren't a terrible bet. I think having Højlund back was massive. I think United just all round front line just looked different gravy with him involved in it. Xerxes is not a number 9, right? He's just not. His XG is way above. Expected goals is way above what he's actually managed to do. And he's missing chances. He's missing big chances. He's not a bad approach player, but for me, he's not a lead the line type player. And the way Højlund slotted back in, the way he took his goal, his quality finish. And I felt like the likes of Rashford and Garnacho were better for playing off him. I think United going forward, if they can keep him fit, will be a different beast. I really do. That doesn't mean I think they're going to be good all of a sudden, but I've come around to your way of thinking on Lopetegui. He's not learning. West Ham are making the same defensive mistakes over and over and over again, and I don't see any evidence that that's going to change at home to United. So for that reason, United at 11-10, if you're going to have a swing at this one, it's not an official tip for me, but if you're looking at having a swing at this one, I think United could just go to the London Stadium and win.
They're a big price, to be honest. Unfortunately, obviously the one team they turn up and win is against Brentford, right? I feel like the first half Brentford played well, and then the second half it was all United. So a bit frustrating. I didn't manage to watch the game, but the highlights basically Brentford didn't do anything in the second half. So Yeah, I don't really know where this game's going to go. I'm going to take a stab at it and say it's going to be a draw. Not an official tip, but I'm going to say it's a draw.
Okay. Last but not least, we've got Arsenal versus Liverpool. What a game! Cannot wait for this. Just before we launch into this one, you touched on the Arsenal red card earlier.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Saliba right to be sent?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I agree. I mean, ultimately, the Ben White is a covering defender, was almost in line with Evan Nilsson, but was 22 yards away. Yes, it's quite far out, but in my mind, and the referees and VAR have got to make that instantaneous split-second decision whether or not they think the defender can get round on the cover or not. In that case, I don't think he was, and I agree that it was 100% a red card. A lot of Arsenal fans are getting frustrated on social media because they're saying that Tosin Adarabioyo for Chelsea should have got sent also for what they're saying was a very similar incident. But I disagree with that because I don't think it was.
I think that was slightly different.
It was very different because Tosin was, yes, he was behind, but ultimately he was only 3 to 4 yards max away at that point. And he's going to be breathing down that striker's neck. And back in my playing days, you won't know much about this as a goalkeeper, but back in my playing days, when you're going through on a one-on-one situation, before you actually strike your finish, you almost want that split second to steady yourself.
Yeah.
And then be able to take the shot. With the defender in that close proximity, he wouldn't have been able to do that. It's one of them you'd have almost had to take on the run, even if you did manage to get the shot away. Added to that, when you do bear down, you normally like to go one or the other way in terms of the direction that you run with the ball, because you want to make it difficult for the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, you don't want to give him the easy chance of just coming straight out head on against you. If you go one way, it's a little bit more difficult for the goalkeeper to get the correct bearings. And again, it would have made it tougher for the striker to have done that. So for me, yellow card was correct for Tosin, and actually credit to the officials in VAR because I think they got both decisions right, in my opinion.
I mean, any decision that goes against Arsenal, Twitter's going to be an uproar anyway. I feel like Twitter's just like 90% Arsenal fans, so you just need to make sure where you get your news from.
It's because they can smell the league title. They've been smelling it for years, and they're getting impatient.
One thing I'd say is that was Arsenal's third red card of the season, right? Mm-hmm. And we've played 8 games.
That's a lot.
That's pretty bad.
It is, and every single time, it's all uproar, or the world's against us, this, that, and if Arteta's saying that to for the benefit of the media and for the benefit of trying to play mind games in terms of ensuring don't go against Arsenal, then I'm fine with that. I just hope he's not cultivating that same message internally in the dressing room. I hope in the dressing room he's going, we need to sort this out, because if he's not and it's just constant denial, then I don't see how the problem fixes itself. So
I don't think he's doing that in the dressing room. I think he fully believes what he says in the media.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, then ultimately, as a club manager, it's very hard not to look at things through rose-tinted spectacles. So
you see the amount of passion he gives in those interviews, right? Raging. Like he fully believes that's the truth, I think, and that's what communicates to his players.
And I think, well, that won't help them. That won't help their record if that's what's happening. Because at some point you need somebody internally to go, guys, we have a problem. If you're refusing to acknowledge the problem, how do you correct the problem? You just can't. So
what's the price for a red card to be shown?
Well, before you do that, do that alongside this. I've got an official tip for this one.
Yeah.
Liverpool win. Liverpool go to the Emirates and win. 3.4 available on the exchanges. Let's just run through this. Saliba out.
Yeah,
massive loss for Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
Saka probably out, or at best not fully fit. Odegaard out. They've got other injury concerns.
Is Saka going to be out?
Well, either way, he's. I mean,
you can't go in straight. Straight right.
The three of them came back from the international break. Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli, all with slight niggles. So you have to question even 1 week later whether they're all at full fitness. Odegaard, of course, is a major one still out for them. I just think that Liverpool under Slot, they look good. They look good, and I see this as I make Liverpool marginal favourites to win this game, and for Arsenal to be 11 to 10 or 12 to 10, 13 to 10 around that price point, I think there is value on Liverpool at 3.4. So Liverpool to win is an official tip for me.
I think, yeah, if it wasn't for the injuries in Saka and Saliba, then you could probably say Arsenal probably favourites, maybe slight favourites. I think the injuries play a massive part, because who's going to play at the back now? Is it going to be in Saliba's place?
No, this is it. Kiwior came on against Bournemouth and made the massive error for the second goal. So
that was
step down.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, like I'm pretty confident on that one. I considered double stakes, but I've gone with 1 point on it. So to summarise, you've got off the fence a grand total of once in 10 matches. Bravo, my friend.
Off the fence for what? Which one?
Official tips.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I, on the other hand, have got off the fence only 3 times this week in comparison to 6 last week. However, as well as doing, I'm obviously in a good place after a good week, and as well as doing those 3 tips that I've given you, which are Liverpool.
Well, I've got 2 tips.
What's your second one?
I got not Forest and Bournemouth.
Oh, you got 2 tips. All right. Okay, cool. Maybe
Not count already. Bloody hell.
You can combine them for about 3 to 1 then if you want as well, right? In terms of mine, so I've got Liverpool win. I've got Chelsea minus 1.5 on the Asian handicap. And I also have Brentford to score in the first 10 minutes against Ipswich as my 3 bets. You can combine my selections also. If you want to play a little bit safer, you can do them as doubles, which is a little bit less risk, a little bit less reward though, and is more expensive to make them because it's now theoretically 3 bets instead of 1. Or you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put a quarter of a point, 0.25 points on the ACCA, which comes in at 47 to 1 for those 3 selections. So once that lands, that's an extra 12 points profit, pulling further and further away from you, mate. And they may as well just cancel the podcast now, but hadn't they?
Like I said, slow and steady wins the race, mate. So we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, look, that's us done. Another edition behind us. We had a great start last week. Both of us ending in very, very clear profit. Hope you're making money off us yet. We might just call ourselves experts yet. No, I'm only joking. Scratch that from the clip. But yeah, let's see how we get on, and we'll see you next time.
Cool. Cheers.